We're going to talk today about slowly changing dimensions. This is a very important concept when it relates to analytic solutions. When you build analytic solutions, there's always an element, or I should say, virtually always, an element of time. You're comparing the current state against last week, last month, last quarter, last year. You're comparing the state of things in these conditions versus those conditions, and those conditions change over time. It's important that all of the dimensions that relate to the facts that you're analyzing change over time along with those facts. By that, I mean, if you're looking at, let's say, for example, the profitability of your company, and you've changed products. Last year you discontinued this product line. 6 months before that, you added a bunch of new products. 6 months ago, you changed a bunch of products and discontinued things and added new things, and you changed prices, and you want to be able to know over time how those things change. Well, if you don't keep track of which products you had last year and which products you have this year and what things changed related to all of those dimensions, if you don't keep track of who was in sales and who left sales and was replaced by other people, which customers were in this location versus that location, and how that might have changed over time. Maybe your business opened different locations and closed different locations and moved things and reorganized things. You want to know how things changed and what effect it had when those organizational changes and product changes and customer changes and anything else that affects your data, what did they look like in those times? So slowly changing dimensions is how we do that. We're going to go ahead and build a sample. Now, this isn't built off of a big data set. We're just going to build this row by row as we go to demonstrate slowly changing dimensions. In this case, we're going to look at a very, very small data set. This is just what would be probably a little piece of a data set. We're going to look at HR data. So we're looking at employees in different positions, different places in the organization chart. Over time, this person used to be in this part of the organization, and now they're in another part of the organization. Before that, they were reporting to a different person. We want to be able to say, well, how did their ratings for efficiency improve here versus there? Did they do better when they had 4 direct reports or when they had 12 direct reports? Did they appear to do better and be more productive as a direct contributor versus when they were a manager? So these are all things that have changed over time. And as we look at different facts that we can analyze, we want to be able to compare the dimensions as they've changed. Right now, we are in the Data Lake Objects database, and we are going to create, let's make sure we drop and recreate, a schema, and then we're going to drop and create a table. And this is our HR table. We're going to go ahead and put an index on this as well. Now, this table is going to include all kinds of information about the employee. Some of this we're not even going to bother filling out. It's just kind of sample data. But we're going to put the organization information in here. Who does this employee report to? Who does that person report to? Who reports to this person? That kind of stuff. So we're just going to do some inserts of this employee data to get some basic rows to start with so we can look at how this all lays out. And then we're going to make some changes to show how that is reflected in slowly changing dimensions. Okay, so these are the inserts we're going to run. And then this is what the data currently looks like. And you can see at the top of our org chart is this John Doe, he's the CEO. Sally Moore is the CFO. Jeff Edgar is the CIO. And then you have different people in different levels throughout the org chart that are samples below that. Some are managers, some are directors, some are individual contributors. As we go across here, you can see different things about when the employee started, what their birth date was, what generation they're in, what sex and race, and just different things like that that HR may track and may be aware of. You have the employee that this person reports to. So the CEO doesn't report to anyone, at least in the org chart. And you have two different employees that report directly to the CEO and then other employees that report to them. We have all of the levels of our org chart listed out here, all flattened out because this is a dimension and not a transactional model. So you can see at the top of the organization is always the CEO. And then below that, you have level 2 employees that report directly to that CEO. And then below that, more and more levels of employees that report to other employees that report to other employees, and so on and so forth. When we come down to the end of that table, we've got a few columns that are specific to slowly changing dimensions. We have an is current indicator that says this is the current row for the current point in time. And then we have begin and end effective dates for that employee. What this is saying is from the point in time here, in this case 2020 6/13, until the future date 2099, this is the row for that employee that would be joined to all of the other data to make up your dimensional model. So if we come down here and we make some updates, let's just make a change to ID number 6. ID 6 is going to be Michael Black. So we're going to basically change his position. So this current row will have an is current indicator now of no and an effective end date of this date, 9/21. So as of that date, he's no longer in this position. He might have retired, he might have left the company, he might have just changed to another job, or in fact, anything else in that row could have changed. Anything related to that employee that changes will cause that row to become the inactive row, and a new row that reflects exactly the proper data will become the new effective row. So we run that, and then we're going to insert a new row for that same employee with the new information. Now, when we look at just that employee, we see now it's the same employee, but he used to be a manager, and currently he's a director. He used to report to Jeanette Freeman, now he reports to Sally Moore. If we come across here, his org chart looks different now. And if you want to know what his org chart looked like at this point in time, this is what his org chart looked like. If you want to know what it looked like at this point in time, this is what his org chart looked like. So the way that this works, when you build your dimensional model and you join all your tables together, this is the data that comes in from the HR system. This is the employee ID from the HR system for this employee. So when you look up employees in all the other tables, that's going to reference that employee. In this case, he's got multiple rows in this table because one is the current row and one is a previous row. So when you're looking at data for him, like let's say, for example, you want to look at his performance reviews and you want to see how he's doing, or you want to see how many people reported to him and how that affected his employee reviews. So if you're looking at a date anywhere between 2023 8/8 and 2024 9/21 for that employee ID, this would be the row that has all of the relevant details for that employee. If you're looking for a date anytime after 2024 9/22 and the future date of 2099, this would be the row that you're looking at. Now, if anything in this row changes, that would be then indated again and a new row inserted. Let's go ahead and do another one. This is going to be for employee number 7. We're going to indate that as of this date, so that will not be the effective record at any date after that date. And we're going to insert a new row with the new information. Now, this is for Mike Burks, and you can see that not very much changed for Mike Burks. Still the same position, reports to a different person now, but all of this other information is pretty much the same. The only thing that really changed is one person, one level in the org chart changed. But again, it's important to realize anything related to this employee that changes should cause that record to end date as of that date, or actually probably the day before. And from that date forward, the new record should be inserted with the proper information. That way, if you want to know how did the employee look, or what were the factors involved with that employee at this time versus that time, it's easy to do. And again, the the whole key to slowly changing dimensions is you don't update any rows. You simply end the date that a row is effective and insert a new row. And then when you join to that, whatever criteria you would use to join to rows in that table to build your dimensional model, you use those, but you add additionally join conditions based on, is it between this date and this date, or is it the current row if you're looking at current data? So I hope that helps. It's pretty simple, but it's very, very important because analytic solutions almost always involve time, and they definitely always involve things that change from one point to another so that you can compare and contrast all of the different elements that work together to explain a condition.